I don't really do public tours anymore, but I still got the license, so relax. And since I do have a tour guide license, I know all you guys are thinking, well, Tom, we're in a basement in Lower East Side on a Saturday. This is a perfect time for a tour, baby. Let's do it. Tour time. All right. Oh, look at that. That's me right there. Hey, I used to do tours. Oh, this is art that I'm making. I have a good time. And dabbing rat. Sick. Here we go, man. Let's start. So today we're going to do a neighborhood. People have been asking for it. So, it's time to do it. It's a neighborhood that only outnumbers its beautiful views by the amount of overpriced brunch spots it has. You never know who you're gonna see. You might see a celebrity, or you might see an investment banker, or you might see a private equity manager, or you might see a hedge fund manager. You just never know. That's right, the West Village, baby. We're doing the West Village. I don't know if you guys have ever been, but that's what we're covering today. So let's get started. Anyone here live in the West Village? Nice, one person. Hell yeah, dude. You're about to learn about your neighborhood. What do you do for a living?
We're in finance.
Come on. Come on, guys. Come on. Respect the craft. All right, let's get started. So first thing you need to know about this is that it is Greenwich Village's little brother, basically. It is an offshoot of what is Greenwich Village, right? Greenwich Village was basically this whole huge area. I covered it in a past video, so I don't have time to cover the whole history, but West Village actually got its name a little later. Now, this whole area was owned, most of it was owned by this guy, Sir Peter Warren, this English guy, actually very important in the Navy over there. It's great, and he actually married famous as well. I don't know if you've ever heard of James Delancey. Delancey, yeah, his daughter was married to this guy. So back in the day, the colonists, when you're a rich colonist, you have one of two ways to hit the jackpot. Either you marry a rich daughter or you marry your cousin. And looks like he did pretty well for himself. So here's what happened, okay? So 7th Avenue is actually basically the boundary, all right? Anything west of 7th Avenue, and here we go, everyone's gonna start arguing with me, relax. All right, there are different boundaries for different things, but that's pretty much it. Anything west of 7th Avenue, then you start getting into West Village. It's a relatively new title. You guys get this references? You guys know ref, right? A little breathe for you, pretty cool. You guys know the song, 6th Avenue Hardwick? Yeah? Yeah. Because the same bright line that was drawn on you was drawn on me. Huh? I know it's 7th. It was a pun on 6th Avenue. Well, you fail on the references. It's okay. And it is Jacob Dylan. Jacob Dylan, who was born in Greenwich Village to Bob Dylan when he lived on McDougal Street. Okay, anyways, we got to get... There's Jacob Dylan. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, no, it is. And she's right. It's 6th Avenue Heartache. It was a play. All right, let's keep moving. All right, here we go. East versus West. Now, here is where West Village gets its name in the mid-1900s. This is an important thing to keep in mind. Now, in New York, this is never going to go away. It's always going to happen. Neighborhoods give themselves new names to kind of create a new, I guess, vibe, a new reputation. And the West Village did just that in the mid-1900s, as did the East Village. The East Village used to be the Lower East Side, and the West Village used to just be Greenwich Village. This is a little secret. You can just rename something and make it more expensive. Whoa, how cool is that? Let me demonstrate, watch. Starting right now, this is known as Tommy D Heights. Huh? I pronounce it Tommy D Heights. Let's check Zillow and see how it's doing. Wow, this basement is worth $2.1 billion. Thank you. All right, let's keep it moving. Here's my realtor card. Okay, cool. Here we go. Off the grid. We're going off the grid now. So one thing to know about West Village is it is off the grid, just like Greenwich Village. Why? Because the grid plan was actually implemented in the year 1811, right? 1811, everything north of Houston Street. Houston, all you tourists, it's Houston, not Houston, okay? It's Houston. So don't go up to anyone and say, how do I get to Houston Street? Or else they're gonna know you're a tourist. And then they're gonna rob you. Don't do it. It's Houston, okay? I don't have time to get into why, but Houston, north of Houston, it's all numbers, right? Except for West Village, Greenwich Village, because that was already laid out by people like Sir Peter Warren, and they're like, no, thank you, we're good. Get your dirty paws off our stuff, and they listen because they got money, baby. So it's off the grid, very important. Just like me with this phone. Follow me, everyone. I'm giving pamphlets out after the show. Okay, here we go. Let's keep it moving. Here we go. Okay, so now this is a cool story. Speaking of 7th Avenue, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. Village Cigar? You know this place? Very cool. So this is a little story. There's a little triangle there. You see this? It says property of the Hess estate which has never been dedicated for public purposes. This is an interesting story. So David Hess used to own the building here in the early 1900s. I looked for pictures of him, couldn't find them, so here's an artist rendering. Now, what happened was, so this guy gets approached by the city. They're ramming through the subway in the early 1900s, and they say they have to take his property by eminent domain. He says, no, thank you. I want to keep my stuff. He fights it, goes all the way to the courts, everything. They rule in favor of the city, of course, eminent domain. He's very salty. So a few years later, they have to build 7th Avenue through there. It wasn't on the grid. They had to build 7th Avenue on there, and they realized that they had left this little triangle accidentally when they actually surveyed it out. So they came to him and said, hey man, look at us, we messed up. Can you just go ahead and donate us this little triangle? And he said no. And in fact, he put this little triangle on there just to add salt to the wound, and it's been there ever since. And in fact, Village Cigars owns it, and they just actually sold out, but they're still part of the property. Look at that. That is how you give someone the finger from the grave, baby. That's a beautiful thing. Take notes. All right, let's keep it moving. Here we go. Chumley's is another story. We're going through the West Village. I'm just going to give you little spots in the West Village, which are super interesting. Chumley's, another great story. This is was a former speakeasy. Now, speakeasy was in the 1920s during Prohibition where you went to drink illegally. Oh, goodness gracious. Today, you still have speakeasies, but all it means now is that you pay $22 for a drink from a guy who looks like this. Now, the story of this is pretty interesting, and you're going to love this one. Okay, so here's what happened. At Chumley's, it's 86 Bedford is the actual address. Okay, 86, well, it's the back entrance. The other entrance is on Barrow Street, which is perpendicular, right? So what would happen was, when they would get raided, they would push everyone out the back entrance so they wouldn't get caught by the police, et cetera, et cetera. This was known as 86ing the party. Oh, God forbid we learn something on a weekend. Look at all you freaks, huh? Yeah, this is what you guys look like right now. Check it out. Oh, wow. Tom actually knows what he's talking about. Well, let's just keep it moving. Pretty good. And you think about this. That's what happens, man. Before social media, before all that stuff, port cities like New York are what spread these little names and these little words and these little terms. Pretty cool, huh? Don't worry, that's not the last one I'll give you, okay? Here we go. Let's keep it moving. Okay, so right around the corner, you have this building. You know what this one is? That's right. This is the old Friends building. Oh, good Lord, baby. This is one place you know it's there because it doesn't matter. It could be, it could be a Category 5 hurricane outside. You will see someone doing a TikTok dance outside of this building. Fact. In fact, during the earthquake, there were 10 people out there doing an earthquake Friends dance. So, here's actually interesting. It was only the exteriors, though. Keep that in mind. This is only the exteriors. You guys know the interior. This is what the interior actually looked like, but that's not the interior of the actual building. The exterior, the establishing shot at the beginning of the episode was that building. The interior was shot somewhere else. Because if it was interior for a bunch of broke 20-somethings in the West Village, it would have looked more like this. So it was definitely not the interior. But let's keep it moving. That's one of the little spots on the corner of Grove and Bedford. Let's keep it moving. Here we go. This is right down the street. This is actually the 75 and a half Bedford. Another very cool house. It was actually a filled-in carriage passageway for the houses that were located there. Filled it in. It's actually only 8 feet and 7 inches wide. Very, very, very narrow, right? But that doesn't keep it from costing almost $5 million, baby. This thing is only it's under 2,000 square feet for almost $5 million. That's how much we're talking. And it was actually home to lots of people, Edna St. Vincent Millay, and also William Steig. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He was actually the illustrator of Shrek, the book Shrek. That's right, it was based on a book. Now, if you guys want to be a real pretentious prick, next time someone says they like the movie Shrek, just tell them you prefer the book. Let's keep it moving. All right, so right around the corner, too, over on 7th Avenue, you have this little place. Very, very cool place, Greenwich Locksmiths. So this is Phil Mortellaro, and his son, and they still run this place since 1980. This is a tiny, it's the smallest freestanding little house here in Manhattan, and they still run it. They've been offered millions of dollars for that space, always turned it down because he just loves being a locksmith so much. Pretty cool. And yeah, I could just do something like say, oh, looks like he's found the key to happiness. Ha 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 ha. I'm not gonna do that, okay? But if you walk by and you see this here, you'll see the safes out there, you'll know that this is their spot. You should stop in. They've done keys for celebrities, they've done keys for everybody. It's a very, very cool place. And it's nice to know that in Greenwich Village and in New York, there's still a place that It's a safe space. And thanks for coming to the show, guys. See y'all later. Thank you very much. No, okay, we're gonna keep with this movie. I still got some more to cover. All right, right around the corner, you have Cherry Lane Theater. There's another place started by St. Vincent Millay in the 1920s. It was actually a former factory. That's right. It was a box factory. It was a former. Take it easy. Well, I'm getting there. It was a former box factory. She turned it into an off-Broadway theater. Here's another little fact for you. Broadway theaters. Does anyone know what that means? A Broadway theater has nothing to do with Broadway anymore. It has its roots in the street Broadway, but today, all Broadway means is that it's a theater that plays 500 or more seats. Off-Broadway is 100 and 499. Off-Broadway, less than 100. Oh, hello. Wow. No problem. You're welcome for something you'll never forget for the rest of your life. Good Lord. Here's another picture of you guys. Oh, my God. Too easy. Let's keep it moving. All right, so right around the corner, too, you have St. Luke in the Fields. So St. Luke in the Fields was a parish offshoot of Trinity Church, started in 1820 because this was in the fields. It was considered outside of the city. It was village. Remember, Greenwich Village. So they built it in 1820s to people escape yellow fever epidemics, right? It's what helped build Greenwich Village in the early 1800s, believe it or not. And actually, in this area, during the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s, this church was very important, one of the few places that opened its doors indiscriminately to people affected by this disease that everyone was horrified of. And it continues to this day, even during COVID and everything, it had its doors open, so a very important place in the neighborhood. And I know that's a little depressing, so here's a picture of my cat. Let's keep it moving. We got to get this done. Okay, here we go. So St. Luke's Place is right around the corner. St. Luke's Place was a little development there of buildings and homes and everything. Some very important people who lived there, including James Jimmy Walker, the president. I'm sorry, not the president. The mayor of New York during the 1920s. The Roaring 20s. He was like the cool guy. He had his wife and his mistress. He would go to boxing events, baseball games, super cool guy, really great. He actually had a fun quote that I always like to bring up. He said, "I'd rather be a lamppost in New York than the mayor of Chicago." That's what he said. I'd rather be a lamppost in New York City than the mayor of Chicago. But Chicago got the last laugh because he was kicked out of office for being basically corrupt as hell, unfortunately. But what can you do? Okay, anyways. So right up the street on Hudson Street is this house. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Jane Jacobs. Jane Jacobs lived in this house for a very long time, 555 Hudson. This is Jane Jacobs, very amazing person. She fought Robert Moses, who you guys may know, on almost everything he tried to pass. The Lomex, the reason Soho still exists is because of this woman. She did a lot of stuff in her life, including writing the book Death and Life of Great American Cities, which I recommend you guys read. Very, very good. Has lots of great quotes, like, a city is capable of providing something for everybody because and when it is created by everybody. And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense, pretty cool, pretty cool quote, but that's enough of that. Let's talk about beer, baby. What are you talking about, Tom? You're such a loser. All right, let's keep it moving. So this here, White Horse Tavern is right up the street. White Horse Tavern, 1880, used to serve the longshoremen over there on the piers. A very important place for all the artists who lived in Greenwich Village, including, very famously, Dylan Thomas, who died basically drinking himself to death at this bar, famously drank 18 shots of whiskey and said, that must be some kind of a record, slipped into a coma and died. 18 shots, baby. So for Tom D. Sticker, does anyone want to recreate that? Line them up at the bar, let's do it. One stick. Okay. All right, we're gonna keep this moving. All right, we're almost done. Here we go. All right, so now today it actually got bought out by a fancy developer a few years ago. There was a huge fight about it. We'll see what happens, but now it's a brunch spot. Go figure. I'm sure Jack Kerouac is rolling in his grave somewhere, but let's keep it moving. Okay, so here we go. Bell Laboratories. This is another interesting one. So Bell Laboratories right on the corner is this building here. Bell Laboratories was basically a phone company. They developed all kinds of things, black and white TV, and actually was where the first talkie, the first picture was actually filmed. That was The Jazz Singer starring Al Jolson. That's right, it was filmed there. I don't know if you guys know who Al Jolson is. You might not recognize it from this picture because he was known more for this. Yikes. That was Al Jolson. That's what he did. And so Al Jolson basically became famous for doing blackface, and it was really unfortunate. And you know what? This is a good lesson. When you do something and it affects the way people feel, and people say, hey, man, I don't like what you're doing, you should probably listen to them. Because you know what? Now everyone sees this guy, and they're like, wow, look at this guy. This is what everyone remembers him for. It's not going to affect you, but your grandkids are going to have a lot of explaining to do. His poor grandkids probably have friends coming over, and they see this at the house, and they're like, what the hell is that? Who is that? And they're like, yeah, it's my dumb grandpa. The times were different. That's what I guess they say. I don't know. But let's keep it moving. All right. Now that building is actually the Westbeth Artist Housing, a very important housing for artists. It's purely artists, has like a waiting list of like 20 years, 15 years. And it housed some very important people, the guy who actually created the Halloween parade, as well as Robert De Niro Sr., the Impressionist painter. Look at that. Which is a very important lesson, which means you have to support artist housing, man. You got to keep artists in the city because that's how you get traditions. And that's how you get famous children, I guess. So, I don't know. He probably made some cool paintings too. But more importantly, guys, that is kind of a little bit, just a tiny bit, what I can cram into 10 minutes of the background of West Village. Pretty amazing. You know, there's more to the West Village. You know, there's history, there's culture, there's art, there's all kinds of passion, etc. It's not just, you know, brunch and you know, bros. And bros doing brunch, you know, it's not, it's more than that. And I know some of you guys are like, wait, bros do brunch? Well, this is you right here. What's up? I just taught you something. Well, we covered the West Village. Look at that. How about that, huh? Pretty good. A lot of stuff in there, man. I tried to fly through it.